Hey guys, welcome back. Now this is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 3 of my show. But this is gonna be about Episode 2. Now, before I actually start talking about it though, I just want to apologize. I would have uploaded this video, this past weekend. But this past weekend, I went to the theater in Dauphin to go see the second film of the John Wick series. So this is still gonna count as a video for last week, as the second video for last week, and then the first two actual videos for this week will be on the Naruto stuff. And then, like I said, I'm gonna alternate every once in a while and stuff. Now, this is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 3 of my show, but this is going to be about Episode 2. Now, just like in my previous video, I might make this video a bit long or something, just because, well, I'll try to make it a long video for you guys, but if it's like a short video regardless, it's still gonna be okay. Anyway, this is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 3 of my show, but this is about Episode 2. And Episode 2 in the original Power Rangers series, sorry if you hear that in the background, my door to my living room area is just closing. I'm sorry if you hear that noise in the background there. Again, my apologies about that. Anyway, this Episode 2 in Season 1 of Power Rangers is called High Five. And basically, this episode mostly centers around Trini's character, because in this episode, we find out that she has a fear of heights, basically. Like, she's scared of being high up. Oh my god, I'm sorry. But if any of you guys have watched this series, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, if you watched it on Netflix, you understand what I mean by that. And sorry about that, guys. If you saw that, I apologize. I just got a little thing caught in there. That's all. Anyway, Jason starts climbing. It goes into the youth center, and then Jason's climbing up this rope that is part of the youth center thing. And then Kimberly and Zach are kind of cheering him on to do the climbing, and then Trini starts to get a little scared for Jason because of the fact that if he slips, he could really hurt himself. And then Zach tells her to knock it out because she's gonna make Jason nervous. And then Jason says that he never gets nervous when he climbs. And then Trini said that he should be. And then she tells Kimberly and Zach that she's gonna stay down there. At least it's a little more down to earth. And then Zach tries to make her go up the rope herself, but she says they'll never catch her trying to climb something that high. And then Kimberly says that basically it looks like somebody's got a severe case of height fright, which I'm guessing is this show's version of saying fear of heights, basically. And then Billy shows up, and then Zach says about his name, Brandon, what's up? Zach tells Billy what's up, and then Billy says that he does have some interesting news to reciprocate, which is explained he said that he finally created a device that allowed them to, and then before he finishes his sentence, Jason is, before he finishes his sentence, Jason is telling Billy heads up because he falls with it and he lands on Billy, and then they start doing this, little swingy thing, and then they fall down, and then Zach says that they should join the circus. Oh my god. And then Bulk and Skull show up, and then Bulk says that, nah, the circus don't take geek clowns. And then Skull starts to laugh, and then he said it because of what Bulk said about the geek clowns thing. Oh my god. I'm sorry, guys, but that's sort of hilarious. Oh my god. And then Jason, after he gets back up, said that at least he can make it all the way to the top. And then Skull's saying that Jason implying that Bulk can't do it, and he says he is. And then Bulk starts to climb, but then he falls down. I think it's because of his weight, because I think that's the predominant factor why he falls down. And then he tries to climb up a second time, and then when he tries to, the ceiling where the rope's attached, pieces of it fall on top of him. And then it goes into a scene where Rita is, and she starts doing this laugh, and she's like, those Power Rangers aren't going to wish they never tangled with me. And she said that she'll trap them in a time warp the same way she did Zordon, and when she's through, the world is going to be hers. And then it goes back into the scene where Jason and the others are at the locker area in the youth center, and Billy says that he finally created a device that'll allow long-range transmission over a short interval. And he's wondering if they're excited about that. And then Zach says that he will be when he finds out what he just said. And then Trini sort of explains it. She said that Billy created a communication device using microwaves, like microwave frequencies. And then he says affirmative, which is I think his way of saying the word yes. And then he tells them that they have full communication with Alpha and Zordon in the command center. And when they put them on, well, Kimberly says the word more phenomenal, which is, I think it's this series' version of saying the word phenomenal, and basically, then Billy explains how they work. In a scientific term, he said that they respond to tactile pressure followed by auditory stimulus, which means that Trini said that they can just touch and talk. But when she pushes the button, they accidentally teleport to the command center. And then Billy said that's weird, and then he presses it, and then he teleports there as well. And then Alpha says, uh-oh, incoming. And then they end up in the command center, and then after a little bit of and then basically Billy said that it appears his communicator has malfunctioned. And then after Alpha makes a little dude-like joke where he says that, welcome home, boys and girls, what brings you to the hood? And then Zach says too much TV. And then Zordon is basically commending Billy for his latest invention, because apparently not only has he created a communication device, he's also somehow managed to tap into the command center's teleportation unit. And he also said that with proper adjustments, it will allow them to teleport to the command center in the event of an emergency. But until Alpha can reprogram it, it'll serve as a two-way communication link between the command center and each other from wherever they are. And then basically what happens is after that, Alpha says that this is easy. You just gotta reflex it, and then he says, uh-oh, and then he starts making these little comedic things where he's running around the command center. I think it's because his circuits get a little shorted out. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's kind of hilarious. And then Rita is asking Babu if the time device, she's like, Babu, is the time device ready or have you messed it up? And then Babu explains that basically he did manage to get it finished, even though lunkhead, which he means it's squat, because like I said, to me anyway, I feel that Squat and Babu are Finster and are Lord Zed and Rita Repulse's version of Bulk and Skull. Which kind of makes sense because of their names. Squad has an S in the middle of it, at the beginning letter, and Babu is a B, and it's the same thing as Bulk and Skull. That's their nicknames, kind of thing. But Babu and Squad are actually their real names for the villains. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Anyway, Babu says that it's all programmed. The machine will fly down to Earth, and then Squat tells Rita that wherever it lands, it'll open up a hole in time. And Babu says that Finster's monster will trap them in the hole, and they'll be gone forever, basically. And then after that, Rita tells Finster that the time device is ready. It's time for them to pick a monster. And then she's looking at the clay creations, and she's wondering which one of them they'll be using. And she does this little tickling thing with one of them. And then basically, Finster tells Rita that they're not going to be using any of the monsters that are on the bench. He tells her that he's making a new one named Bones, which is basically a skeleton-based monster. Oh my god. I'm sorry. That's kind of hilarious, though. I'm sorry. Anyway, he said that he thinks Bones will be perfect. And then Rita said that he better be. And then she also sort of compliments Finster on the way Bones looks. She tells him that he's so gruesome and ugly. Just what she wanted, and then basically Finster puts the Bones clay creation in the Monster-matic and spins it, and he says he sets it for full power. But when Bones comes out of the Monster-matic in the top part in the hose, he said that his Bones at her service, and then he basically takes the head off. Now, before I continue, I just want to mention something. Some of the monsters that they use in this first season, like Eye Guy, the Terror Toad, the Nasty Knight, some of those monsters they've already used on different planets. I just thought I'd make a quick reference about that before I continued. And then after Bones is out of the machine, now getting back into it, after Bones is out of the machine, Finster said that perhaps he should have put the machine on low. And then basically Rita tells the others that she called them like salad brains, and she says that it's time. I think she's talking to Squat and Babu in this instance with the salad brains, because as I stated, to me, Vince, Squat and Babu are Rita's version of Bulk and Skull. Anyway, she tells them that it's time to launch the time device, and she doesn't want any mistakes. She wants the Power Rangers gone, and then basically what happens is after that, what happens is Babu tells her that she wants him to launch it, and then she says yes, and then he says that he gotta just pull this lever, and then Squat plugs his ears, and then he says he hopes Babu knows what he's doing, and then he launches the time device, which is like a miniature rocket ship, and then after that, Rita looks through a repulsoscope, which, as I stated, is her version of like a telescope kind of thing, and she's wondering where the time device is, because she can't wait to trap the Power Geeks in her time warp, and then she said, there it is, and then after the miniature spaceship time device goes across the road a bit and scares some citizens, its nose part opens up, and then it's shooting this beam out, and then the alarms at the command center go off, and then Billy's wondering about the extreme audio oscillation and what does it indicate, and Zordon tells the Rangers that Rita sent down a device to open a time trap, and he also tells them that the Putty Patrol is gathering outside of town. So what he wants them to do is find out what the Putty Patrol is up to while he analyzes the time device. And basically what happens is Alpha teleports them to the Putty Patrol location, and then when they're in the rock quarry, Kimberly's wondering what they're doing. She says she doesn't get it. What is the Putty Patrol doing there? And basically, what happens is Jason says that they better stay there and keep an eye on them, and Billy says that that's not a viable option at the moment. And then Zach says that, what is he talking about? This is perfect camouflage. And then Trini tells them that basically it was about 5 seconds ago, and then Kimberly says that they've got a morph, and then Jason says that they can't because apparently Zordon told them that they have to try to defeat the putties on their own first before using their powers, and so that's sort of how this episode, for at least for these scenes anyway, with the battle against the Putty Patrol, they're in their human forms, and then after they start fighting the Putty Patrol, without the use of their powers, they sort of get, Jason tells Billy and Trini to push some of the putties away and spread them out, which basically in a way means separate them, and then basically then to lead the putties away, Trini and Billy split up, and then it goes to where they are with the cliff, and then Billy's on top of the rock formation, and then it goes back to where Kimberly, Zach, and Trini are, and they're fighting the Putty Patrol, and then it goes back to where Billy and Trini are, and then Trini basically tells Billy that he's gonna come back because he'll fall, and she says that he's too high, and this sort of leads into what happens and then basically after Billy gets cornered by one of the putties, he looks at his arm, but he realizes that he doesn't have his communicator, and he said like Alpha. And then basically, Trini says that she's afraid, but she can do this. Billy needs her and stuff. And then basically what happens is after she climbs all the way up, and then while she's halfway up the cliff, she looks down, and then she said that she can't do it, but she says that she has to. Which in this case kind of makes sense because she sort of has to do it, otherwise Billy will be put in danger by the putties on the top of the cliff, so she sort of had no choice. Oh my god. And then basically what happens is, after she finishes climbing up the rock formation, she tells the putty to leave Billy alone, and then after she tricks the putty into jumping to attack them and he falls off the cliff, Billy congratulates Trini on what she did, and then they realize that the others are in trouble. They gotta get down there and help them, and then they finish battling the putties, and then after Rita sees the putty patrol leave through her repulsor scope, she tells Bones to go do his stuff, and then basically what happens is Zordon is basically congratulating the Rangers on a superb job dealing with the putties, and he's also giving Trini a special congratulation for overcoming her fear in the face of an emergency, which that makes sense because she didn't really have much choice in order to save Billy. She had to overcome her fear temporarily. And then the alarm in the command center goes off, and then Zordon says that the scanners have picked up a new threat. And he tells them about Bones, and then after he says that it's morphing time, it goes through the morphing sequence, and then after that, they start battling Bones at the amusement park. And then, here's the funny thing, before they actually start fighting him, Bones says that, here, let me help you get ahead, and then he throws his head up in the air, which causes the time warp to be activated. Actually, after he explains, well, I'm going to backtrack here just 1 minute. After Zordon explains about what Bones can do, he also explains that Bones probably controlled the time device. And then, now getting back into what I said, after they do the morphing sequence and after they show up at the amusement park, they start fighting Bones, and then he makes this little joke about, let me help. He said, let him help them get ahead, and then he throws his head in the air, and then he causes the time warp to be activated, and they get thrown into another dimension, and then they start fighting Bones' version of the Putty Patrol, which is basically these skeleton-based minions, and then after a couple of battles with the skeletons, they manage to destroy Bones, but then he reconstructs himself. And then Billy realizes that they have to destroy Bones' head to destroy him entirely, which kind of makes sense because he's a skeleton, and without a head, the human body is basically useless. Anyway, so he grabs Bones' head, and then he tosses it to Trini, and then basically Trini catches it, and then she tells them to look out because of the skeleton men, which I think are Bones' version in this case of the Putty Patrol, and but that's my opinion. And as I've always told you guys with my YouTube stuff, YouTube is about people's opinions, and that's basically my opinion about it. And then after she defeats some of the skeleton men, she goes to where a crevice is in the time warp, and she throws Bones' head into the time warp, and she makes this sort of joke saying, "So long, Bonehead," and that basically destroys Bones. And then basically Rita says that she's not done yet, and then she says, "Moon dust, soft and polite, send her the giant." And then this giant version of an armored knight shows up. And then he grabs, after Jason says about the giant being huge, the giant night monster grabs Jason in his hand, and then after he says that he's had about enough of the monster, he tells him to let him go, and then he blasts him to let him go, and then he tells Zordon that they need dinosaur power now, and Zordon just sends the Tyrannosaurus. Now, this episode only had the Tyrannosaurus fighting the monster, but the rest of them after that will have the Megazord fighting the monsters. I just thought I'd mention that ahead of time. And then while he's fighting the monster, he's asking Zach how he's doing, and then Zach says more phenomenal, and then basically they defeat the monster, and then after that, Rita gets upset and she said that she's got such a headache, and she asked somebody asks one of her minions to bring her an aspirin, which is a type of medication you take for headaches, and then it goes into the scene where they're in the juice bar, and then Ernie, who's the owner of the place, says that he heard it on the radio. 5 superheroes saved the park from this zombie guy, and he said that they call themselves the Power Rangers. And then Billy basically said that, speaking of which, their communicators are fully functional again thanks to Zordon and Alpha. And then Kimberly said that they can communicate and teleport to the command center with the communicators, and then he says yes, and then she said, "This is so 90s." And then basically Billy is thanking Trini for helping him out with what happened in the quarry with the rocks. And then after she says about then Kimberly said that the way she climbed those rocks was more phenomenal, and she said, then Trini said that the guests they say what they say is true. You never know what you can do until you're forced to do it. She just hopes she can be that brave enough the next time. And then while she's talking with them, Zach sneaks up on them with a skeleton next to him, and she scares Trini, and he scares Trini to get her to climb it. And then at the end of the episode, they say that looks like she's finally overcome her fear of heights, and that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video on YouTube when I post it today, just give it the real best you guys can, and I'll see you guys sometime later this week for the next Power Ranger video. But until then, guys, like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.